Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air. Dangerous rip currents threaten swimmers on both coasts as millions flock to the beach for the last moments of summer. The race against time to rescue survivors after a devastating earthquake. And the dramatic showdown between two former U.S. Open champs. First, danger on the West Coast on this holiday weekend. Much of Southern California is at high risk for rip currents. Lifeguards performing hundreds of rescues. In the East, similar warnings in 6 states. And at Newark Airport, some flights brought to a standstill because of staffing issues that are expected to last into the night. What it means for travelers, and our weather team timing out the forecast. The last-minute legal maneuvering. Hundreds of unaccompanied Guatemalan minors in U.S. custody, now in limbo. Dozens of children loaded onto planes, one jet even taking off before it was forced to turn back. Lawyers battling it out in a hastily convened federal court hearing. What happens now? Selena Wang from the White House. The chaos at the CDC and the growing confusion over health policy. Why former CDC directors are accusing HHS Secretary RFK Jr. of endangering the health of millions. Faith Abube from Atlanta. A child shot in the back in Houston after an apparent prank turns deadly. The urgent investigation now underway. The images of utter devastation just coming in from Afghanistan. Desperate survivors using their hands to dig through the rubble of a deadly earthquake. The leaders of China, India, and Russia hand in hand. Their solidarity sending President Trump a message. In panel reporting. Rudy Giuliani is badly hurt in a car crash in New Hampshire. Aaron Katersky with late reporting. The urgent investigation. An attendee is found dead at Nevada's Burning Man Festival. The dramatic showdown at the U.S. Open. Two former champs battle to advance. Tonight is the night. The Powerball jackpot surpassing $1 billion with the drawing just hours away. And America Strong tonight. The quick-thinking West Point cadet and why he's being hailed a hero.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
It's great to have you with us on this Labor Day. I'm Mary Bruce in for David. We begin tonight with dangerous rip current threats on both coasts with millions at the beach this holiday weekend. Much of Southern California at high risk for rip currents and hazardous conditions. It's keeping lifeguards busy with hundreds of rescues over the weekend. Beachgoers on the East and Gulf Coast also facing treacherous conditions across 6 states from Alabama to Virginia. And as millions head home from the long holiday weekend, ongoing staffing shortages at Newark Airport are creating headaches for travelers. Flyers warn to expect ground stops and delays for much of the day. Our weather team is standing by with the forecast, but first, ABC's Melissa Adon leads us off from Manhattan Beach, California.
Tonight, treacherous rip currents on both coasts as crowds flock to the beach for the long holiday weekend. Much of Southern California's coast at high risk for rip currents. Los Angeles County Fire lifeguards say they've conducted more than 500 rescues since Friday, mainly due to those dangerous conditions.
Lifeguards are out here in force. Down basically Santa Monica, up into Malibu, you have thousands of people at the beach right now.
LA County Fire telling me beaches are fully staffed. Their lifeguards closely monitoring the potential danger.
Those hazardous conditions are definitely out there. As we have the surf fill in, we're going to see those rip currents intensify in their strength.
Meanwhile, in the east, millions of beachgoers also on alert. A high risk of rip currents spanning parts of 6 states, running along both the Atlantic and Gulf coasts. And as families face that rip current threat, in Texas, heavy rain triggering flash flooding in parts of the state for much of the holiday weekend. More than 500 flights canceled at Dallas-Fort Worth International since Friday. While at New Jersey's Newark Liberty International, plagued by delays last week, officials warning travelers to expect intermittent ground stops until late tonight, where many incoming flights get halted for a time, this due to staffing issues. A source telling ABC News that only 3 controllers are scheduled to work tonight at the Philadelphia facility that directs Newark's air traffic. Mary, here in Southern California, the temperatures have been in the 90s, leading to these crowds at the beach. And look, lifeguards telling me if you do happen to get caught in a rip current, to remain calm and to swim parallel to shore. Mary?
Those rip currents, a dangerous threat. Melissa, thank you. So let's get right to meteorologist Jeff Smith of our New York station, WABC. Hey, Jeff.
Yeah, Mary, not a big surprise that people are flocking to the beach in Southern California. We have heat advisories in effect from L.A. all the way up to Sacramento. L.A. temperatures in the middle to upper 90s during the day today. How about an extreme heat warning? Northeastern parts of Oregon into southeastern Washington. Why, you ask? How about Spokane getting up to the century mark, near the century mark, the next couple of days? The heat will wane a little bit, will subside in Southern California by, say, later on in the week, but it keeps going strong in the Pacific Northwest. Speaking of temperatures subsiding, check out what happens in the Midwest. Seasonably warm tomorrow, but we're talking about feeling like mid-October by Thursday. Minneapolis and Chicago. Meanwhile, in the Northeast, quiet and seasonable for everyone headed back to work and school this week. Mary?
It certainly feels like summer is over. Jeff, thank you. Now to President Trump's immigration crackdown facing yet another legal challenge. A federal judge ordering the administration for now to halt the deportation of a group of Guatemalan children. Dozens were already on planes as the drama unfolded. Here's ABC's senior White House correspondent, Selena Wang.
Tonight, a group of Guatemalan children caught in a legal battle over President Trump's sweeping immigration crackdown. The administration putting 76 children who crossed the border into the U.S. alone onto 3 planes in Texas during the early hours of Sunday morning. A federal judge blocking their deportation, a government official saying one flight may have briefly taken off before turning back around. Those children waiting hours to learn the outcome of an emergency hearing.
Imagine the position of the children inside those planes, not knowing what's going to happen or why or where they are going or when they're going to be let go. It's just horrendous what the government is doing to these children.
Tonight, Guatemala's government announcing it will work with the Trump administration to reunite some of those children with their families, but only after they've received their right to due process. White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, the architect of the infamous family separation policy in Trump's first administration, accusing the Biden-appointed judge of refusing to let them reunify with their parents. But the children's attorney says some of the children put on the planes did not want to go back to Guatemala.
If these were, as the government presented them, benign repatriations that were lawful and, normal course of business, why pick up the kids at 2 a.m, 3 a.m? Why under cover of darkness? If what you're doing is above the table and legal, you do not need to hide.
And Mary, the attorney for the children, tells us some of them could be in danger if they return to Guatemala, but for now they are safely back in U.S. facilities and they wait for the legal system to decide their fate. Mary?
Their future's uncertain. Selena, thank you. Now to the turmoil rocking the CDC. 9 former directors of the agency tonight sounding the alarm, blasting Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., accusing him of, quote, endangering every American's health. Here's ABC's Faith Abube.
In an unprecedented rebuke tonight, 9 former directors of the Centers for Disease Control sounding the alarm, accusing the Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. of jeopardizing the health of millions of Americans.
The reason we put this out is that we have grave concerns that the Secretary of Health is endangering the health of people across our nation by not letting the agency do its job, not following the science.
The former CDC directors who served Republican and Democratic administrations from Carter to Trump, writing in a New York Times op-ed that Kennedy has, quote, severely weakened programs designed to protect Americans from cancer, heart attacks, strokes, lead poisoning, injury, violence, and more. Kennedy, a longtime vaccine skeptic, they argue, has focused on unproven treatments while downplaying vaccines amid the biggest measles outbreak in a generation. And as COVID cases rise, the FDA has scaled back vaccine approval to only seniors and younger people with high-risk conditions. Some pharmacies are already limiting access to the shots in at least 16 states.
Raise your right hand.
Last week, when the new CDC director, Susan Monarez, would not get on board with Kennedy's changes, he ousted her, even after previously praising her expertise.
Susan is a expert in public health.
But lawyers for Manara say she was fired after she refused to rubber stamp unscientific, reckless directives and fire dedicated health experts. 4 top public health officials also resigning in protest.
This is purely politics and ideology by Secretary Kennedy. He brought in a director for the CDC who is a gifted scientist. As soon as she started to exert her authority as a scientist, he had her removed. That is unacceptable.
And Mary, we've asked the White House for a comment on that op-ed. So far, no response, but Secretary Kennedy is expected to testify on Capitol Hill this week, where he'll likely face questions about his leadership and that shakeup here at the CDC. Mary.
And that hearing will be closely watched. Faith, thank you. Next here tonight, a doorbell prank in Texas turns deadly. An 11-year-old boy shot and killed following a game of ding-dong ditch. A suspect now potentially facing a murder charge. Here's ABC's Alex Stone.
Tonight, a man in custody suspected of shooting a young boy in the back after an apparently innocent door-knocking prank turned fatal.
Shooting just occurred from a wood of shot.
Investigators in Houston say it unfolded around 11 o'clock Saturday night. The boy ringing doorbells of homes in the area and then running away until someone emerged from one of those houses with a gun.
A witness said someone ran out of that house and was shooting at the kids running down the street. And unfortunately, and sadly enough, one of the boys who was 11 years old was shot in the back.
That boy pronounced dead at a hospital on Sunday, his name withheld pending an autopsy. The suspect, described by police as a middle-aged man, has been detained and questioned, but not yet formally charged.
To shoot the way they say he did, you got to be charged for something because of an innocent life forsaken.
And Mary, tonight police are telling us they do not believe that this was self-defense. Murder charges could be filed this week. Mary?
Okay, Alex, thank you. Overseas now to the tragedy in Afghanistan after that devastating earthquake. Rescuers using their hands to search the rubble for survivors. More than 800 people killed and thousands injured in the disaster. And fears tonight that the death toll will certainly climb. Taliban officials now pleading to the world for help. Here's ABC's Marcus Moore.
Tonight, the desperate search for survivors after a devastating earthquake in northeastern Afghanistan. The death toll staggering. At least 800 people killed and more than 2,500 injured. People scouring through the rubble with their bare hands. Villagers pleading for assistance, saying, "We need people to help pull out those buried beneath the debris." The 6.0 magnitude earthquake striking the province of Kunar overnight, rocking buildings from the capital of Kabul to Islamabad, Pakistan, nearly 200 miles away. This man saying, "It shook us all violently, even broke our house. God had mercy, and we managed to escape." Several strong earthquakes have hit Afghanistan in recent years. In June of 2022, more than 1,000 people were killed in the southeast. And in October of 2023, more than 1,500 people died when a 6.3 magnitude earthquake struck the western province of Herat. Today, the Taliban Health Ministry pleading with the international community for more help.
Mary, this earthquake happened in a very mountainous part of the region, and that has made the response even more difficult. And Taliban officials warn that the casualty numbers could increase as searchers reach more areas impacted by the quake. Mary.
Those images just devastating, Marcus. Thanks. Now to the stunning show of force at China's security summit. Russian President Putin and Indian Prime Minister Modi walking hand in hand and later sharing a car ride. Today's display of unity sending a strong message to President Trump. Here's ABC's chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell.
The leaders of China, India and Russia tonight, hand in hand, shoulder to shoulder, all smiles, laughter and a clear message to President Trump. The warm words are an effort to show a stable and alternative world order. President Xi Jinping rolling out the red carpet, hosting the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, an alliance of some of the world's most powerful nations not allied to the US. A challenge and a response to President Trump and Europe over sanctions and tariffs. Vladimir Putin promoting a system that would replace the obsolete Eurocentric and Euro-Atlantic models. In another apparent dig at the US, India's Prime Minister, who's locked in a battle with the US over sweeping tariffs, pledging warmer ties with China, aiming to be partners.
Modi telling the United States he's not happy about tariffs are cozying up to Pakistan. Putin saying that he has a big friend, strong friend in China. And Xi saying that we will continue to challenge U.S. leadership around the world.
This summit is further sign that despite their many differences, those who've been targeted by Trump are now looking elsewhere for friendship, alliances, and trade. Mary?
The Trump administration no doubt watching this closely. Ian, thank you. Next here tonight, former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani was seriously injured in a car crash in New Hampshire. The 81-year-old suffered multiple injuries, including a fractured vertebrae. So let's bring in ABC's chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Katursky. And Aaron, what more are you learning tonight?
Well, we're told, Mary, that Rudy Giuliani is now out of the hospital, but still recovering tonight from that fractured vertebra. He was riding in a car that his aide was driving around 10 p.m. Saturday night along Interstate 93 in Manchester when it was struck by a Honda with a teenager behind the wheel. Giuliani, his aide Ted Goodman, and the driver of the other car, 19-year-old Lauren Kemp, were all taken to the hospital, though police said all three would be okay. Before the crash, Giuliani had been spotted at a minor league baseball game in Manchester. And tonight, Mary, President Trump announcing Giuliani would receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Trump calling Giuliani, who supported his false claims about the 2020 election, the greatest mayor in the history of New York City. Mary?
Aaron Katursky with the latest details. Aaron, thank you. Now to the showdown at the U.S. Open. Former champions Coco Gauff and Naomi Osaka battling for a spot in the quarterfinals. ABC's Stephanie Ramos has more from Queens, New York.
Tonight, a dominant and overwhelming performance from the two-time U.S. Open champion, eliminating Gauff in straight sets. Gauff at times visibly upset. Osaka moving on to the quarterfinals.
I'm a little sensitive. I don't want to cry, but honestly, I just had so much fun out here.
Gauff's loss now leaves only 3 Americans left in the singles tournament. Fourth-seeded Jessica Pegula rolled into her second straight U.S. Open quarterfinal. On the men's side, all hope falls on Taylor Fritz, who is gearing up for a dramatic showdown against 24-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic.
Mary, Fritz was the runner-up in this tournament a year ago, and he's faced off with Djokovic 10 times before, but Djokovic hasn't lost any of those matches. Mary.
So much riding on that match. Stephanie, thank you. And when we come back here, authorities question concertgoers at Nevada's Burning Man Festival after a man is found dead in his tent. And the Powerball jackpot keeps growing ahead of tonight's billion-dollar drawing. Next tonight, an urgent investigation is underway in Nevada after a man was found dead at the Burning Man Festival. Authorities say they were called to the scene on Saturday night just as the towering bonfire was lit. Law enforcement interviewing several people who were in the area. The identity of the man is currently unknown. And when we come back, the Powerball jackpot grows ahead of tonight's big drawing. What would you do with $1.1 billion? To the index now, and it's not too late for the chance to be a billionaire. Tonight's Powerball jackpot jumping to $1.1 billion. No one has matched 5 numbers plus the Powerball since May. Now, if you take the cash option, that's more than $498 million. So go get that ticket. And when we come back, the West Point cadet and high school football star is now being hailed a hero.